What's going on? We're live now. My name is George on Tap. Welcome on into the show. This is the George on Tap show, our daily on tap, what's on tap in sports show. So today we're going to start off by talking about our sponsor, Underdog. Use promo code on tap and you'll get up to $250 bonus. Plus, if it's your first time signing up, you will actually get the play of the day, which is Shohei Ohtani over half an at bat. We're going to present this to you guys here quickly and show you guys what we mean here. So here's our underdog. We built out our play already for you guys today. If you are a new user, you can get Shohei Ohtani just over half a plate appearance to start off your bet, which is basically free because you know he's going to get in at bat. And then we have David Peterson, 17.5, pitching out lower. Jake McCarthy, 2 hits, runs, and RBIs higher. And Yordan Alvarez, 1.5 total bases, also higher. And the reason we did these bets is from our friends at RotoWire, where if you use our link below in the description, you can build out your plays. It's a pretty cool platform. You can kind of, toggle where the lines are, what the picks are. So today we did MLB, but you can do best NFL, NBA. And today we saw that Jake McCarthy's RotoWire projection of 2 hits, runs, and RBIs is much higher. David Peterson, 17.5 out on RotoWire projection is much lower. And scroll down a little bit to find Yordan Alvarez, 1.5 total bases. RotoWire's projection is much higher. So if you use RotoWire and Underdog, you can kind of build out some really cool plays. This is going to pay you a 10x if all 4 are correct. And if you do a flex, 4 correct pays 6x, 3 correct pays 1.5x. But don't you forget, Shohei Ohtani over half at plate appearance is basically a lock. All right. So today we are going to talk about what's on tap. And we're going to start off with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. The Jets, you got to feel bad for their fans. It's like torture. Look, if there's someone who knows what it's like to be tortured over and over by his sports teams, that would be me. As you can see, I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan. They won a Super Bowl. They haven't tortured me that much. They're the one team that has brought me a lot of joy in my life. If you see behind me, I got 2 things here. Tottenham Hotspur, my favorite European soccer club. Watch almost every match. They've done nothing but torture me. They find ways to lose that I couldn't imagine, that are unfathomable. They invent ways to let me down. As you continue to see, I have a Seattle Supersonics jersey. The Sonics were my favorite team growing up. I loved NBA basketball, and the team eventually moved to Oklahoma City. That's bad, as you can imagine. You have your favorite team, and they end up leaving. Like, how much more could you be tortured than that? And then up there, you can kind of see it pointing at it in that direction. It's Felix Hernandez's perfect game. Maybe the best moment the Seattle Mariners had until they made the playoffs in all of the 2000s, after 2001, of course. They've known how to torture me too. So it brings me to the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers said he doesn't want to play in a city, doesn't want the city to be okay with being mediocre. The Jets wish they were mediocre. The Jets have been one of the worst franchises in NFL history. And for Aaron Rodgers to go from one of the best franchises in the history of the NFL, of the Green Bay Packers, and then go all the way down to the New York Jets, is nothing short of a huge downgrade. It's a downgrade, plain and simple. The Jets, well, they haven't really been relevant other than a couple of years with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez. The team has gotten stars like Brett Favre to leave the Packers, ironically, to go to the Jets before he went to Minnesota. I feel like that was like the forgotten year of Brett Favre. And they still didn't win shit. They bring in Aaron Rodgers. A couple plays into his first season with the Jets, he tears his Achilles. I don't know if the Jets are cursed or Aaron Rodgers just made a bad decision. But the Jets know about being a franchise that is filled with curses, a franchise that is filled with disappointments, and a franchise that's literally never won anything. If you go, a lot of times when you travel around the world or the country, you meet people and you sit there, you ask them, "Hey, where are you from?" I tell them I'm grew up in Seattle. They'll tell me, "Hey, are you a Seahawks fan? Are you a Mariners fan?" And you kind of, find that connection that sports does. It connects you with people. If you meet someone from New York, well, usually it's a melting pot, so they can be a fan of, many teams around the world. But immediately you probably ask them about football. Are you a Jets or Giants fan? If they say Jets fan, you kind of say, hey, I'm sorry. Being a Jets fan is not for the faint of heart. And it just makes me wonder, did Aaron Rodgers make a horrible decision by deciding to hitch his wagon at the end of his career to the New York Jets? It's interesting, right? Because this part of his career is very crucial. Aaron Rodgers' legacy is really, really set right now. He's a great quarterback, probably a top 10 quarterback of all time, won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. But imagine if he went somewhere else, a good franchise like Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady took the Buccaneers, who were not a great franchise, but they are a franchise who've had flashes in the pan and got him a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets. It's just not the same because his legacy is on the line here. This season is very important for Aaron Rodgers, the end of his career. You look at someone like Matthew Stafford. He leaves the lowly Detroit Lions and then resurrects his career with the Rams and wins a Super Bowl. And this year, the Rams should be pretty loaded, and he might have a chance to go make another deep playoff run. Complete opposite of Aaron Rodgers if they don't make the playoffs nor make a deep playoff run. Aaron Rodgers needs this for his legacy. He needs the Jets to do well because it can change the whole thing. Like, people might laugh at this, but look at the careers of Rodgers and Matt Stafford. If Matt Stafford wins another Super Bowl, we can start arguing that he has a higher career than Aaron Rodgers. Somehow Rodgers, with all his accolades, all his amazingness, he's been to one Super Bowl and won one Super Bowl. At least Brett Favre has been to multiple. And it makes me wonder, who is better all time in their career, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? Sure, maybe Aaron Rodgers' arm talent and stats are better than Brett Favre, and Brett Favre have kind of had his weird moments outside of football here in the last few years. But in a weird way, if you ask me, it's Brett Favre. Unless Aaron Rodgers makes a big run here with the Jets. At least Favre went to Minnesota and took Minnesota to places they probably couldn't imagine. He was one dumb pass away from making the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers' biggest moment on the Jets, probably his interview with Tucker Carlson. And I'm not a hater of Aaron Rodgers, by the way. Actually, I know Aaron Rodgers can be kind of weird and kind of a diva to a lot of people. I think Aaron Rodgers is a lot more like me and you than most NFL quarterbacks. He questions authority. He's not a yes man. He wants to do good. He wants to make a change. He's more like a podcaster sometimes than an NFL quarterback. He even talks about running for vice president of the United States of America. I like Aaron Rodgers, but I question sometimes his decision making. I question his ability to not want to be part of the crowd. Because going to the New York Jets, he's basically asking himself to be the messiah of the franchise. And the messiah of the New York Jets is a hard place to be. The messiah of a Jets team that is this bad, it's really difficult. If Aaron Rodgers does it this year and the Jets go on a huge run, More power to him. Aaron Rodgers will have cemented his legacy as a top 5, 6, 7 quarterback of all time. Shit, if he wins the Super Bowl with the Jets, you might have to put him in your Mount Rushmore of all time quarterbacks. But Aaron Rodgers right now, you are asking yourself a tough, tough task because Jet fans, they've been tortured for years and there's no signs of it going the right way. What's on tap? All right. Tyreek Hill was voted by players as the number 1 football player in the National Football League. Just goes to show that's why sometimes players don't make the greatest general managers in their post career. That's why players sometimes just, they like a flash, they like ability more than more important things. But Tyreek Hill had some interesting comments when asked about being rated higher than Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill actually said he is better than Patrick Mahomes and that he's been to Pro Bowls and he's at 1,700 yards. You got to be freaking kidding me, man. Read the room. Despite winning a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, what kind of postseason success has Tyreek Hill ever had? None. He's literally none. Like, he's the guy who thinks he's better than everyone else when he hasn't really achieved anything. Sure, he puts up a lot of stats. He puts up a lot of yards. He's flashy. He's fun to watch. He might be the best player if you're playing Madden because you can run a deep route. But is he the best player in the NFL? Come on, man. What are you talking about? Tyreek Hill is definitely not the greatest player in the NFL right now. It is Patrick Mahomes. If the list is Patrick Mahomes, huge gap, whoever the second best quarterback is in your opinion, probably Josh Allen. The Chiefs, since getting rid of Tyreek Hill, sure, their offense might not sound so explosive anymore and the points don't come as easily, but they won back-to-back Super Bowls. And Patrick Mahomes has become a better quarterback. Sure, the stats don't just necessarily, say Patrick has become a better quarterback, but he's become a better freaking quarterback. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how a lot of these players sit there and let this come out of their mouth. I don't know if the actual, like, in his noggin that Tyreek Hill thinks that his achievements right now, his yards, his touchdowns, his highlight reels, the amount of kids he has is really better than Patrick Mahomes. Does he not realize that Super Bowls are what matters? And would the Chiefs probably won back-to-back Super Bowls if they kept Tyreek Hill? Yeah, they would have. They would have won back-to-back Super Bowls. But guess what? They also won back-to-back Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill. And that should say enough to those who want to build their team around the high-profile wide receivers. Let's talk about them. Who's the best wide receiver in the NFL? Many will say it's Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill, waiting for their notable Super Bowl runs on their respective teams. The Dolphins probably are not going to win the Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill. And Justin Jefferson is on yet another quarterback waiting for the Vikings to surround him with the right enough talent so he can actually get to a deep playoff run. Who else is on that list? Let's Google the top wide receivers in the NFL and see who PFF has ranked. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase. We saw when Joe Burrow was hurt, Jamar Chase wasn't what Jamar Chase usually is. Let's share our screen here for a moment and take a look at this list. CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys, well, they're not even ready to offer him the big contract extension. AJ Brown. Well, he's pretty good, and the Eagles have been pretty good. So he's at least one on that list. Davante Adams. He looked like he was ready to walk off the field because the Raiders were so bad last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Love this dude, by the way. but he's about the seventh best wide receiver in the NFL, and he knows it. Brandon Ayuk at number 8. The 49ers have literally not been ready to give him the money he wants, and he's ready to leave the 49ers. Cooper Kupp, number 9. Now, Cooper Kupp is the only one on this list, I would say, won as the best wide receiver in the NFL in the year he won the Triple Crown. And then 10, Deebo Samuel, who, by the way, is more of a weapon than a running back. Tyreek Hill needs to realize that this is not about him. But Patrick Mahomes is the best football player in the NFL, and it's not even close. The comments were ridiculous. I can't believe he said them, and it just makes me wonder. Our teams finally, like, they're the shiny sports car. Like, they're great to have, but you got to have everything else before they really matter. What's on tap? All right. The NBA Cup schedule was released, and this is going to be just a little short thing about the NBA Cup because I saw so many people complaining that the NBA Cup doesn't matter and the NBA Cup is ridiculous. And now they call it the Emirates NBA Cup, kind of like the FA Cup in English Premier League. It doesn't really matter. The group schedule has come out, and I agree. The group schedule I really could care less for. And I think they could do a better job of maybe setting up the tournament in a more exciting way. But Adam Silver has hinted in a potential collaboration with FIBA teams or international teams like Real Madrid basketball, Barcelona basketball. And if that stuff happens, the NBA Cup could become super duper interesting. And I think it's time that fans of the NBA actually care about this a little bit. We had an in-season tournament where a trophy is lifted. And if you don't remember last year, that Final Four in Las Vegas, the ratings were really good. The basketball was really fun, and fans really got into it. And that last night where people were kind of looking and saying, oh, the Warriors have to win by this much to go to the knockout rounds. And like, it is exciting basketball. But I think the problem is so many people are afraid of change. So many people are afraid of what's new. So many people hate when something new comes up and they don't know about it enough. And that's what happened with the NBA Cup. People are hesitant to embrace new. But I'm here to tell you, embrace the new. Get excited about the new. Because the new is fun and exciting. The new, it matters. The new, look, we were so quick to dismiss smartphones. Smartphones became a necessity. And in a time where the NBA is competing for attention, what better attention can you have than actually giving the NBA Cup a great sponsor, having good teams, and actually enjoying knockout basketball? The NBA Cup is here to stay, and the NBA Cup at some point is going to be fantastic. Let them work out the kinks for a few years, but I'm telling you right now, fans are going to start caring about the NBA Cup. Fans are going to care about who wins the NBA Cup. And I think the NBA just needs to do some small tweaks, like add international teams maybe down the line, or give an automatic first round playoff berth. Like you're at least the 4 seed and you have a home round in the playoffs. If you win the FA Cup in the English Premier League, you go automatic to at least the Europa League. And that's enough for them to qualify for European basketball. Like that's pretty damn good. So I think if the NBA can figure out a way to make the NBA Cup feel relevant and big and have big stakes, the NBA Cup will become something that fans care about immensely. Not just a little bit. They will actually care about the NBA Cup and who hoists it. And last year, just go back to your memory bank. Last year, the NBA Cup was great. And we're gonna talk about this with LeBron in 25, 30 years. Like he won 4 NBA championships and 1 NBA Cup. Sure, it's not as big. It's definitely not as big as an NBA championship, but there's a place for it. And it's important, and fans are going to start to embrace it at some point. All right, what's on tap? Last but not least, I saw something about Big Dom today. And it was like the Let's go NFL standings. So big Dom, Eagles Eagles like security, head of security. I don't even know how to exactly explain what he does. And he's kind of like, when you think of the Eagles, you play word association. So you're like, oh, Big Dom. So I thought I'd play some word association here and try to match teams with the first person that comes to my mind. So I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to start off with the NFC and kind of remember, and it can be a player, it can be a coach, it can be whoever, but who is the person that most you associate when you hear this team's name? So let's share our screen here, and we're going to start off with the New York Giants. The first person that comes to my mind with the New York Football Giants is Michael Strahan. Why Strahan? Well, because he's on Good Morning America. He's on Fox. Like, I don't know. There is a word association with me and the New York Giants and Michael Strahan. The Philadelphia Eagles. Big Dom. I mean, we talked about it, but he's kind of like the guy right now with the Eagles. So when I think about the Philadelphia Eagles, the first person I think about is Big Dom. He's kind of like the Don of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Washington Commanders. I'm sorry, I still think of Dan Snyder. I know he doesn't own the team anymore, but how bad he treated that team, that fan base. It's going to take a while for us to erase his memory. So sorry, but Dan Snyder for the Washington Commanders. The Dallas Cowboys. This one is probably the easiest one. Jerry Jones, their eccentric owner, the guy that everyone thinks of when you think of the Dallas Cowboys. When I think of the Cowboys, I think of Jerry Jones. The Chicago Bears. Mike Ditka. The Bears. Come on. I mean, he's pretty synonymous. They won their last Super Bowl with him as their head coach. And I feel like when you think of the Chicago Bears, the first person you think of is Mike Ditka. Pretty simple. The Green Bay Packers. Vince Lombardi. Lombardi Trophy named after him. Legendary head coach. When I think of the Green Bay Packers, the first person that comes to my mind is Vince Lombardi. The Minnesota Vikings. Randy Moss. I can't think of anyone else, but that's the first person. Randy Moss was electric. He was maybe one of the most fun football players to ever watch in my lifetime. And when I think of a Vikings, I think of Randy Moss. The Detroit Lions. I think of Ford, like the car. Maybe because the Ford family's owned them for so long. Barry Sanders also comes to mind. But let's go with Ford with the Detroit Lions. The New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees, brought him a Super Bowl. Hurricane Katrina. Pretty simple there. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guess Tom Brady. I know he didn't play for them that long, but he's the first person that comes to mind there. Atlanta Falcons, Michael Vick. Come on, that Madden Michael Vick year was the greatest video game player of all time. Pretty easy for me to just say, hey, I think of Michael Vick when I think of Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers, Steve Smith. Probably the best player in their franchise history. He was fun to watch. He was electric. He was eccentric. Pretty easy for me to say Steve Smith with the Panthers. The LA Rams. This one's hard. I guess Sean McVay, young coach, kind of changed the way coaching is in the NFL. Simple. The Seattle Seahawks. I think of multiple things here. Maybe that's because I'm a Seahawks fan, but I'm going to go with Pete Carroll. He brought him the first Super Bowl. He's the guy most synonymous with the franchise. He changed the culture. He made us into the biggest, brought us the biggest winning era in Seattle Seahawks football history. Arizona Cardinals. I think of Tidwell. What's the name? Bidwell Tidwell from the movie with Tom Cruise. Random, I know, but that their franchise hasn't been very good. So it reminds me of that Tom Cruise movie, Show Me the Money. San Francisco 49ers. Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver to ever live. Let's go to the AFC, the Miami Dolphins. Dan Marino, maybe the best quarterback of all time. That has never won a Super Bowl. The New England Patriots. I still, once again, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick combo deal. Best dynasty in history of the NFL. Pretty easy for me to think of those two. The New York Jets. Joe Naismith. I mean, this franchise really hasn't had much of a huge success, so that's their last success. The Buffalo Bills. Wow, this one's tough for me. But I think of just goalposts because of a Super Bowl. Sad, I know. The Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis, heart and soul of that franchise, and brought him a Super Bowl, not just one, but two. The Cincinnati Bengals. I can't really think of anyone when it comes to the Bengals. So I'm going to have to go Joe Burrow. At least he took him to a Super Bowl. The Cleveland Browns. Yikes. This one's tough for me, guys. The Cleveland Browns. I guess I think of Johnny Manziel and just the dumb decisions they make as a franchise. The Pittsburgh Steelers. So many people you can think of. I'll think of Terry Bradshaw here, won multiple Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I think of Trevor Lawrence. He's their hope and savior and the only thing that could save this franchise. The Tennessee Titans. I think of Steve McNair. Unfortunately, he died early, and that documentary that's going to come out on Netflix is going to be fantastic. The Houston Texans, I think of Andre Johnson, best player in their franchise history. The Indianapolis Colts, I think of Peyton Manning and just how good he was for the franchise. And Andrew Luck comes second for what could be. The Denver Broncos, John Elway. Come on, there's nothing. He looks like a Bronco. Pretty simple. The Raiders, I think of Al Davis, one of the most eccentric owners in the history of sports. The LA Chargers, I think of Phil Rivers and the amount of kids he had. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I think of Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback of this generation. All right. So that's the word association game with the NFL. Kind of thought that would be a fun way to do it. Please make sure you like and comment if there's any of them you disagree with. The hardest ones for me had to be the Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals. And ironically, they're in the same division. But both of those franchises have just never really done anything for me to be like, wow, when I think of that franchise, I think of this person. It's sad because that's football country, Ohio. Isn't it weird that like Ohio, which is known as like one of the home of the Football Hall of Fame, has two of the franchises that are most synonymous with being bad? Got to feel bad for those fans of those franchises. The Bengals, the Browns, definitely on the list of teams I can't really even play a word association game with. And of course, like the Texans and Jaguars are kind of new, so those were pretty easy. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been George on Tap, part of the Sports on Tap Network, our daily show, Monday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time and 2:30 Eastern, talking about all the biggest stories in sports and some fun topics here. This is August, guys. This is the dog days of summer. We have to find, we literally find different topics that are really have to be interesting because there's not much going on in sports. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you want to sign up with Underdog, use promo code on tap, and you'll be able to get the play of the day with the Shohei Ohtani, only half an at bat. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.